This is part 2 of our pavilion build. In this video, we're going to go over all the framing, putting up the 6x6 timbers, how I got these big beams up there, kind of all by myself. I had help with one of them. The rest I had to kind of figure out. But it's nothing you can't accomplish by yourself. I do a lot of these jobs all by myself alone, with minimal help from my family, but they're always watching just in case I need a hand, which I greatly appreciate. So thanks guys for that. So I'm going to try not to bore the heck out of you guys while you're watching this video. A lot of it's shot, fast speed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what I'm doing and just explain it. And through the power of editing, hopefully you guys stay tuned till the end and you can see the you can see the result behind me right now. What this thing's going to look like when it's done. You can accomplish the same thing. So good luck to you and your project, and let's get to it. I know watching people in fast motion, sometimes it's funny, but most of the time it's super boring. So I'm going to try and just narrate what needs to be narrated and skip over the boring parts, and we'll get this thing done. So thanks for watching. Let's go. Of course, I'm a glutton for punishment, so I installed the anchor bolts way too high, and I had to go around and cut each one off about 1 inch so that the posts would sit flush on the concrete pillars themselves. Then I went through and I braced up each post and tried to get it as level as I could. Now, I didn't have any instructions or anything like that, so this was my best guess at how to do this. My thinking was if I got 2 posts set with a brace between them, it would be a good starting point and I could go from there. So as you can see, I'm kind of struggling about doing things by myself. The sidewalk was kind of in the way too, so I had to use a bigger board to brace it properly. Now I'm using deck screws with a torque bit to attach all these braces. That way I can pull the screws in and out and you won't really see the screw holes in the posts. Especially if you go and stain them, you can always fill them in with wood filler too. Again, I'm using deck screws to put those braces on, and now I have a brace between them. I don't know why I was checking level there, but hey, why not? So same thing here. I figured I'd get 2 on one side, 2 on the other, and then, what could go wrong? We just throw the piece across the other side and we're done, right? Okay, so here what I'm doing is I'm taking a string line, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's a little tiny line bubble on there. And my thinking was if I take the line bubble and a string line, I can get a level line all around all 4 posts. That way I can see if they were the same height or not when I go to put my beams across the top. All right, like I said, I work alone, so I got some clamps on here and some braces, and I just lifted up one end and then the other. Those things were pretty heavy. I didn't realize how much older I'm getting until I start doing stuff like this, but you find out real quick. All right, then my daughter came in. She lent me a hand because she saw me struggling, so I appreciated that. You can see the notches that are put in the cross pieces there. That's supposed to link everything. Well, it does. It's going to bind everything together so that it all locks into place and becomes one structural unit. So there, I thought that post was too high compared to the rest, so I trimmed a little off the bottom, and I thought I was all set. So again, I did the same technique on the other side and put the side pieces on. I was using clamps and screws for the brace pieces. I don't know if you can see it there, but there's a clamp right down by my midsection holding up that brace. And then I have boards clamped on either side of the beams going across. That way I could tap the beam into place without it sliding off the posts. Everything was pretty much stable then. And then I drove 8-inch screws down into the posts to hold everything together. Not sure when the video stopped, but this is how far I got today. That's all I got. I got these braced up, got the cross pieces up on both sides. They were not easy to get up, as you could see. You gotta just be smarter than the timber, I guess. But they're screwed in, and tomorrow we'll come back and we'll get these cross pieces, hopefully, and then we can start bracing it up and add our roof. But yeah, I really like how high it is. The window there's for the kitchen, and we could see the pond through the window. We were afraid this thing was going to get in the way, but if you look through the window of the kitchen, you can see right through, and it's because these timbers are so high. So recommend using 6x6. It just looks more substantial, I guess, if that's the word. But all right, back to the fast motion. So here I am cutting out the opposite notch to put the cross pieces in together. This will lock everything in place. So again, same technique. It worked really well to just kind of go up halfway and then get my ladder and move it from side to side. And then yeah, there's my son-in-law. He's helping me out here. But yeah, I could have probably done it by myself. It was much appreciated to help though. And then I just tapped it into the notch and everything kind of locked into place. Drove it down with some screws. That was kind of premature on my part to use the big giant screws. I should have just used smaller screws until I knew everything was where I wanted it to be exactly. And then I could have drove the long screws right through, because the 8-inch screws I used went through all 3 6x6s, and it tied everything together, and I used 2 in each post. So don't skip out on the screws. Make sure you get, 8-inch hex driven screws and you'll be all set. Don't try and get away with some long wood screws or something, deck screws. So once we got all four beams up, you think everything's going to be great, and it is. It's above my head, so that's good. Okay, so yesterday I put these angle pieces up thinking that by doing so it would take the racking out of how much this can wobble. And if you look, if I push on it, if you can see this, but you can get it to move pretty good. You get it swaying. There's a couple schools of thought on that. Some people say it's because I didn't concrete the post into the ground, but you're not supposed to do that anyways, because if you do that, the posts will rot out in 20, 30 years and you'll have to change them. These are supposed to keep the posts above the ground an inch so that they don't rot. But I don't think everything's squared up, and I don't think I used the long enough screw for this into here to really fasten it tightly. So I'm going to do some experimenting. That's why I do these projects, so I can make mistakes and you don't have to. I'm going to take some of these apart and redo them. I didn't have a real good way to cut these. I used my circular saw and then a Sawzall and then just try to get them as good as I could, but I don't think they're as good as they should be. Then we'll go through and replace these, but I'll let you know what happens and where we go from here. So originally what I did was I bought a line level. It's a level that sits on your string line, and I started here and put a line, and then I went around the whole thing and made the string line level around all 4 posts, so I thought. And then what I did was I measured from here to from the level line to the bottom to find out which beam which post was the longest. Well, apparently that was not very accurate, because I can see that this beam is not level, and when I place the level on it, it's not right. So the only way to do it right was to come out here when it was dark, because my laser level didn't work in the daylight. And I put my laser level on a tripod, and you come around here and you can see I put a mark on each post from that laser. I did it on all 4 posts. Then what I did was I measured from the line to the top, and the shortest distance, that's going to be your lowest post. So now I know that that corner is the lowest post over there. So that one is not going to get cut, but I got to trim each one of these posts. So what I'm doing now is I have my car jack and just a 2x4. I got some screws to temporarily hold it in place so nothing slips out of the way. I'm going to loosen up these bases, take them off, take the screws out, jack it up, and then cut off what I need to cut off. This post has to come down 2 inches, which is huge. So this post has to 2 inches has to get cut off. That post is like 1.25 inches or 1.5 inches, and then that post is 1.25 inches. I have it all written down. Make sure you write it down if you have the same dilemma. This job looks like it's very simple, but for some reason I'm struggling with it. It's probably because this is in the way, and I didn't make my post level or my concrete level. If I had made my concrete level, I wouldn't have this issue. But it was difficult to do with this in the way. I know I'm making excuses. Maybe you guys probably know how to do it better than I do. I'm just a homeowner doing my best, putting it out there, showing you the mistakes that I make so you don't do the same. But yeah, if you're gonna check for level, use a laser level.
So that's what they can learn from this mistake?
Yes.
Okay.
So that's one done. All right, moment of truth. Hopefully this is where it needs to be. So that's after I trimmed up the post. All right, so I'm back at it again. I'm taking down the knee braces, trying to cut them a little more flat on the side, get a better seat, and then I use much longer screws, and it made a huge difference. All right, so here I'm putting on the post that is going to hold up the main beam of the roof. And then, same technique. This was a little more difficult because I had to go up an extra 1.5 feet, 2 feet. So once I got it up to the top, I just kind of rolled it over, you know, walked it down, and I conveniently had my grill island to stand on. It gave me a couple extra steps and some stability to go and heave the main beam up. Okay, so originally I had a problem. I don't know if you can see this, but I had a problem with this thing racking. So you could get your hand on it and kind of rock it back and forth, and it did move a little bit. I changed out these. Originally I had 4-inch screws, or 4.5-inch screws right here. I changed them out and used 8-inch screws, 4 of them per knee brace, with a washer to really tighten it up, and that really helped quite a bit. After this video, the next one's going to be, we'll go over the roof, the rafter cuts, the sequence that you need to take in order to put a roof on, all that important stuff. As always, thanks for watching, and until next time, enjoy your backyard water garden.